What's going on, guys? JSGC here, back again for another Manchester City transfer update where we've had some big developments in the last few hours in terms of a goalkeeper signing for Manchester City. It does mean an update on Joan Garcia and Diogo Costa. So before I do crack on with this video, make sure, like always, if you are enjoying the content, do subscribe to my channel. Remember, from Sunday, I'm doing daily Manchester City transfer updates here on YouTube, where I'm going to keep you guys up to date throughout the whole of the summer transfer window with all the latest City transfer news here on YouTube every single day. So if you haven't already, do subscribe. It is free. Social media links are in the description if you want to go and follow me on my X, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorship for any videos or any general business inquiries. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up on the video. We smashed 700 likes in yesterday's transfer update, so let's set the same target. Let's see if we can hit it in consecutive days. 700 likes is the aim, and do get your thoughts in the comments below. So a little bit of contract news. Manchester City have left an update on several of Pep Guardiola's backroom staff. So it had been reported yesterday evening by Jack Gorhan that Manchester City were looking to try and get some of Pep Guardiola's backroom staff on to new deals. So Hugo Viana is negotiating with all them staff whose contracts are up at the end of June of this year. So just over a month left of their contract. Apparently this has unsettled a lot of Pep Guardiola's backroom staff, and they've seen it as not a good look from Manchester City. And I think this is not so much coming from Pep Guardiola. I think it's more Man City just looking to try and freshen things up when it comes to the staff at the club, to try and help keep both the playing squad and also the man in charge, Pep Guardiola, as motivated as possible. So City just working on some of Pep Guardiola's backroom staff to be given new contracts whose contracts are up at the end of June of this year. It does mean, and we have had an announcement come from Manchester City, that we're going to be losing 3 members of staff of Pep Guardiola's backroom staff, that is. So it was confirmed by AS over in Spain yesterday that Juanma Lillo would be leaving Manchester City upon the expiry of his contract at the end of June. Pep Guardiola is going to need a new assistant manager. It's also been confirmed that Carlos Vicens is joining SC Braga as a manager, and Inigo Dominguez is also going to be leaving Manchester City. This was coming from The Athletic, and The Athletic was saying that Pep Guardiola wants fresh new ideas to help keep him motivated, so he's looking for new staff. And Jack Gorhan had confirmed that despite rumours coming in twice this year about Fernandinho joining Man City's backroom staff as a coach, Manchester City right now don't have any plans to make Fernandinho a coach, which I think is a massive shame, because it would be great to have Dino back with his hard-working attitude, his numerous languages being spoken. I think he could have really been utilised by Manchester City. He could have really helped Kodia Husinov to settle, as well as they both speak Russian. But here we are. They may change their mind. We might still get Fernandinho back. I do hope so. But it'll be interesting to see who City decide to go for. They're needing 3 new members of staff, including an assistant manager, a set-piece coach, and also a general coach as well. Now, this has all been confirmed by Manchester City, so I want to wish Inigo, Carlos and Juanma the very best of luck for the future and whatever does end up happening with them, with, of course, Carlos Vicens going to SC Braga as their new manager. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to Inigo Dominguez and also Juanma Lillo as well. We've also heard word in the last hour that Jacob Wright has officially left Manchester City to join Norwich City. Jacob Wright did join Norwich City on loan in the January transfer window. They had the option to make that deal permanent, which Norwich City have decided to do, and this is what Norwich City had already communicated when they announced their retain list, that they were working on this deal. To get that agreement in place, they've signed him for £2.3 million as the initial fee, which can rise to as much as £3 million with a sell-on clause and buyback clause included by Manchester City. So Jacob Wright no longer a Manchester City player and will be playing his trade for Norwich City at Carrow Road in the Championship from next season and beyond. And I'm wishing Jacob the very best of luck for the future, and who knows, we may see him back at Manchester City at some point in his career. Now moving on, we've got the latest on Kevin de Bruyne, and Matteo Moretto over in Italy has said that Kevin de Bruyne's agent is expected in Naples in the next 24 to 48 hours to finalise a deal for Kevin de Bruyne to sign a 3-year contract with Napoli. It's now at the final stages and could be sorted and announced before the end of this week, all being well. If it's not to be this week, then it would be next week. I'm going to presume that Kevin de Bruyne wants his future sorted this week so he can then focus on international duty with Belgium from next week onwards. So I presume that they'll be pushing to try and get that sorted probably by Friday, maybe even into the weekend. We'll wait and see. Now moving on, we've also got the latest on Jack Grealish, and the Chronicle Live in Newcastle have said that Jack Grealish is available from Manchester City this summer for £40 million. Newcastle are interested, but they are struggling to afford his wage. It's not a problem with the fee, it's more his wage. Newcastle would need to break their wage structure to make a transfer happen, which I don't think Newcastle are overly keen on making happen. Jack Grealish does have family and friends up in Newcastle, so a move there would make sense. He's already very settled in England and settled in the Premier League as well, so he knows what to expect with a move to Newcastle. It makes a lot of sense of it. The big key here is Jack Grealish going to negotiate on his wage, and if he's not, are Newcastle prepared to pay what Jack Grealish is asking for? If not, then I don't know where Jack Grealish is going to go. For the sake of him and his career, I feel like a move away from Man City right now does make sense, so it'd be well within Jack Grealish's best interest, I think, to pursue that move and try and negotiate and make that transfer happen. I think everybody would prefer for a permanent transfer rather than going down the sticky loan route, so hopefully that can get sorted, even if it is to be a loan with an obligation to buy for a smaller fee. I think I'd be happy for that to happen. It also means that Jack Grealish potentially may not have to play against us next season as well if it is to be a loan with an obligation to buy. Don't really want an option to buy, I prefer an obligation to buy. We'll see, but there is, with the loan, of course, a little wiggle room when it comes to negotiating the wage and who pays what. Anyway, moving on to the final story of the out, an interesting one, an interesting line coming out of Turkey in terms of an update on Bernardo Silva. Now, Sports Witness have said that Galatasaray have put feelers out for Bernardo Silva this summer. They have spoken with Bernardo Silva's agent, and they say that Bernardo Silva is interested to hear what Galatasaray have to say. Galatasaray are currently seeking about how a potential deal would work and how much it would cost to bring Bernardo Silva to Turkey this summer. We of course saw Benfica heavily linked last month with a move for Bernardo Silva, and there is no guarantee that Bernardo Silva will remain a Man City player past this summer. He's been hinting about an exit now for 2 or 3 summers, and with him now just having 1 year left on his Manchester City contract, you feel like this summer may just be the summer that he leaves. And if it isn't to be this summer, Bernardo Silva I don't think will sign a new contract at City, so if he doesn't leave for this summer, he will leave next summer for free. Anyway, moving on to the ins, let's speak about the goalkeeping situation. We've got the very latest on Joan Garcia. And whilst Manchester City have an agreement in place with the player, which I do believe to be a fact, Barcelona also have that agreement in place as well. It's believed that Garcia's entourage want him to stay in Spain to fight to be the new #1 goalkeeper for the Spanish national team. They believe that he's best to achieve that by playing for Barcelona, but he does have serious competition for that #1 spot at Barcelona, of course, with Marc-Andre ter Stegen, their goalkeeper, still there, and also Szczesny as well, the Polish goalkeeper. So we will see as to whether he wants to do that fight to be their new #1 or not. If he does end up coming to Manchester City instead, then I think it would be far easier for him to become the #1 at Man City, going off the fact that I'm expecting Ederson, City's #1 goalkeeper, to leave this summer. He has also been linked with a move to Newcastle as well, who are also looking for a new goalkeeper. Joan Garcia is a Spanish goalkeeper, 24 years old, plays for Espanyol, has got a release clause of around £20 million. Hence so much interest coming in for Joan Garcia. All this information coming via Mundo Deportivo over in Spain. Now moving on, we've also got the very latest on Diogo Costa, the other goalkeeper that Man City are keeping their eyes and ears open for. Now Mercato in Italy have said that Manchester City are not 100% their that Joan Garcia will be signing for them. So as a contingency, Manchester City are currently putting everything in place for Diogo Costa to sign for them instead, should Joan Garcia make that decision that he wants to leave Espanyol and makes his decision that he wants to go somewhere other than Manchester City. Now, Costa is a 25-year-old goalkeeper at FC Porto. He is Portugal's #1 goalkeeper, and Mercato have said that Manchester City are in contact with Diogo Costa's agent, Jorge Mendes, who Hugo Viana, Man City's new sporting director, has an excellent relationship with. Mendes is working hard to try and negotiate that fee that Diogo Costa does have. He has a release clause of €60 million, which is £50.38 million in today's currency exchange rate. Manchester City, though, willing to pay €20 million less, which is £33.59 million on a new goalkeeper like Diogo Costa. But we're looking here, just like the Tijjani Reijnders deal, we're looking at a £17 million difference between what a club is asking for and what Man City are willing to pay. So it does need to be successfully negotiated. So City are asking for Diogo Costa's agent, Jorge Mendes, to earn his money from this transfer and try and make a transfer happen and get some negotiations in place. And then we've had a big update in the last hour or so from Relevo in Spain, who have said that Manchester City have communicated with Joan Garcia today that his options now are Barcelona and Newcastle, because Manchester City, whilst they've got the agreement in place for Joan Garcia, have now withdrawn from that race as they want to focus on signing Diogo Costa from FC Porto instead. Diogo Costa believed to be Man City's new #1 choice when it comes to replacing Ederson this summer. A whirlwind 24 hours for goalkeepers potentially joining Manchester City. And what I suspect has happened here is Man City have played a little game with FC Porto, where Man City have asked a question to FC Porto and they've pointed towards his release clause. They've asked a question about the willingness to negotiate, and they said that they're not willing to negotiate. So what Man City have done in response to that and said, we found a cheaper, just as good alternative in Joan Garcia, and we're going to put all our eggs in that basket instead, and we're going to push really hard to make that transfer happen instead. And Espanyol's going to get our money, not FC Porto. I presume that Diogo Costa is keen on the move to Manchester City. The agent sat down with FC Porto and said, look, we want this transfer to happen. The player's interested in the move, and Man City are willing to walk away from this transfer, and you're not going to get a heck of a lot of cash for your goalkeeper. And FC Porto, in response to that, have said that we're going to negotiate on the release clause. And Man City, hearing that, it's like music to their ears, have said, do you know what, actually, Joan Garcia, we're just going to distance ourselves away from that, and we're going to focus on Diogo Costa instead. Now, I might be looking at this and making 2 + 2 = 5, and it might just be sources from Spain just trying to, encourage for Joan Garcia to stay in Spain instead, because they think that having a Spanish, top-quality Spanish football player playing in Spain serves better than him playing in England, and La Liga like to keep their biggest and best talents in La Liga, and Spain like to keep Spanish players in Spain as well, so it would serve the purpose to keep him in Spain. So if they report this, then it might just, tempt the player to sign for Barcelona, and him thinking that actually Man City aren't serious. Could be a bit of a transfer game being played here, but the fact that City have been long admirers of Diogo Costa, I believe what Relevo are saying, it makes a lot of sense. I can believe it to be true. So waiting for further clarification and update on that. That might even come in the coming hours. We'll wait and see. So if there is to be any big serious developments, I'll be back again tomorrow with another transfer update and giving the latest on this little goalkeeping merry-go-round going on in the transfer window. Now finally, I just want to give a very quick update on Tijjani Reijnders, and Corriere dello Sport in the last 24 hours in Italy have said that Reijnders had a family holiday planned in Ibiza at the beginning of July before the start of the 2025-2026 season. This holiday, I don't know how Corriere dello Sport have found this out, but this holiday that he's got planned to Ibiza has now been cancelled, and this is ahead of Tijjani Reijnders being heavily linked with a move to Manchester City, and City in advanced talks with AC Milan to make this transfer happen. Manchester City want Tijjani Reijnders not only to sign for the club before the June 10th deadline for the Club World Cup, they want Tijjani Reijnders going to the Club World Cup as well, because Kevin de Bruyne will not be going to the Club World Cup as he'll be signing for Napoli, so they'll do what is in the best interest of his next club, Napoli, so he won't go to the Club World Cup, and that's why City are pushing hard to get Tijjani Reijnders signed before then, so they've got an extra midfield option, so we can utilise Tijjani Reijnders at the Club World Cup instead. Hence, the beginning of July clashes with the Club World Cup, which is why Tijjani Reijnders has cancelled his holiday to Ibiza. Looks like an agreement not too far away. Found that a really interesting line coming out of Italy. That again might just be me reading in too much into it and going 2 + 2 = 5 here, but again, what's been reported and what's been said, it makes a lot of sense. And with transfers, sometimes you just got to read between the lines. Sometimes you can be wrong, sometimes you can be right. Interesting nonetheless. Would love to know your thoughts of that, guys, in the comments below. Also, don't forget to leave a thumbs up on the video. 700 likes is the aim. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new around here. Remember, we're going daily with my Man City transfer updates from June 1st, this Sunday, for you guys to enjoy. So if you haven't already, do subscribe. It is free. Also, don't forget social media links there in the description as well if you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too. Going to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. And I'll see you all again real soon for the next transfer video. So I've been JSGC. Thank you everyone for watching. Hope everyone is safe and well. Peace. Ciao for now.